Welcome back to the Drunk on Writing Dissections, brought to you in part through the patronage of Ariya Norinth. Today, we are looking at one of my favorite comics of all time. Marvel's 2007 miniseries Silver Surfer Requiem, written by the prolific and award-winning J. Michael Straczynski and drawn and painted by the, at the time still unknown, Esad Ribic. Not very unknown today. Before we get into this book and this episode and all of the random histories and asides that I like to insert into my dissections, please remember that if you enjoy this episode, please be sure to share it with your friends. Please comment. Please let me know that you like it. And please subscribe to the channel. Please head on over to drunkonwriting.com where you can sign up and get so many more episodes, so much more often. You want more episodes? More often? Head on over to drunkonwriting.com because, yeah, you're gonna get them. You're gonna get them. I post them. I post them surprisingly often. Now, Silver Surfer Requiem is, before we get too much further, a book about death. Spoilers: Silver Surfer's death, Norinth Rad's death, which, if you understand the meaning of Requiem...
Requiem. Noun. 1. Especially in the Roman Catholic Church, a mass for the repose of the souls of the dead. 2. A musical composition setting parts of a requiem mass, or of a similar character. 3. An act or token of remembrance.
Makes a whole lot of sense. And really, it's hard to call that a spoiler when the series was, I mean, to be frank, teased that way. Here's how Marvel originally put the book synopsis when it was unveiled in January. Officially unveiled, I should note, in January 2007. For untold years, Norinth Rad has surfed the galaxy, exploring the darkness between stars, witnessing the rise and fall of vast civilizations. Now his ride is about to come to an end. It starts with a small spot, a blemish that will spread until he is no more. What makes this comic great, though, is not the death. Yes, many a comic has been sold on the death of a character throughout the years. I've picked up many a comic book based on the death of a character throughout the years. Even though, I mean, they always end up coming back, right? I mean, this is comic. This seems like something you sort of sign up for. In fact, this comic was printed under the Marvel Knights umbrella, the Marvel Knights imprint, which originally was sort of created to cater to the lesser known characters of the Marvel Universe, the darker corners of the Marvel Universe, bring a spotlight onto them. But around the time of Silver Surfer Requiem's publication, had transitioned sort of to these more evergreen titles, these evergreen stories, these stories that existed on their own. As former Marvel editor-in-chief Joe Quesada sort of noted, Marvel Knights stories were written to be self-contained limited series that really think outside the box, that challenge readers to rethink their favorite Marvel characters and reevaluate the legends that surround them. Another way to put it, these are stories out of continuity. Silver Surfer's death here really doesn't matter to any other book on the stands at that time. Didn't impact anything in terms of Marvel continuity. But that's okay. Who gives a damn? Because this book, it's not necessarily about the destination. It's about the journey. Granted, it's a quick journey. There's only 4 issues here. But they are 4 issues that I feel you need to slow down on, that you need to really absorb the art, absorb the story, because as Straczynski noted way back in 2004, yes, this story was a long time coming. It's a book written to really shake people up a bit. Also, it could have been rather a bit longer. This is meant to be strictly a miniseries, Straczynski teased in 2005. and would not lead off into a regular series. Whether it goes 6, 8, or 12 issues will depend on where the story takes me, though I suspect it'll be just the 6. I don't think I'll need any more than that, though Marvel said to take as much time and as many issues as needed. Could have been up to 12 issues or maybe even more. And you could see where they could have easily slotted in any number of other issues between the ending of 3 and the beginning of 4. So I gotta say, I'm pretty happy with what we got because I feel like 12 issues might have been a little too much. It might have just destroyed the series because I feel like the brevity of the story, the importance laid on every line, on every action, is part of what makes this so special. So to extend it, to bring it out to 12 issues, I think that would have really dragged out, taken away from it, because this book, as it stands, with those 4 issues, the 4 issues that I feel like were all we really needed, they've never, not since this series was released, not since now, I mean, I just read this before I recorded this dissection, I've never felt like something was missing, and it has never failed. The series has never failed to make me cry. Granted, I mean, I'm not sobbing. I'm not gonna say that, but I every time I read this, I cry, and yes, I may be more prone to this than others, but when you get something like the surfer putting his remaining days into the perspective of a monarch butterfly's lifespan and feeling blessed for it, or him using what's left of his strength, his waning strength, to show the world what it's like to be at peace, to be free, even for 5 minutes. Or Doctor Strange offering the surfer the knowledge of our world, of all our songs, all our stories, divided in 2, before and after he came and saved our world, to show what he preserved through his sacrifice. Or I think this is even probably the biggest one. Seeing Galactus, who has literally eaten worlds, grieve for the, as he puts it here, most honorable being he has ever known. I mean, how do you not cry? Honestly, it's pretty special to me. It's pretty funny to me how incredible this series is, how meaningful it is to this very day, given, though it was long in development, that Silver Surfer Requiem was published to ride on the coattails of 2007's unfortunately mediocre Fantastic Four Rise of the Silver Surfer. It wasn't even the only comic featuring the Silver Surfer published that month. Marvel also dropped the Silver Surfer Omnibus with a variant cover by Esad Ribic, I should note, collecting the original 18-issue run. Ultimate Fantastic Four launched its Silver Surfer story arc, and issue 545 of Fantastic Four featured Black Panther, putting him in a headlock. Yeah, seriously, what made Silver Surfer Requiem stand out from the pack even before reading it was the creative team attached to it. Most know J. Michael Straczynski, often referred to as JMS, as the creator of sci-fi show Babylon 5, which I've been told multiple times that I need to watch, and I will. Believe me, it is on my list. I will get to it. But I know him because from 2001 to 2007, he wrote and, in many ways, reimagined Amazing Spider-Man, Marvel's flagship Spider-Man comic, including the infamous 9/11 issue, which I personally can't read anymore. I mean, proximity and all that. But, granted, his Spider-Man comic did end on something of a down note, something of an unfinished note, as did his Fantastic Four run and his Thor run, even. But they were still really good. But Silver Surfer Requiem was absolutely his best work. his strongest work. And he has said, Michael Straczynski has said himself that this is his best work from Marvel. It's his strongest work from Marvel. I actually reached out to him recently to find out why he felt that this was his strongest work when he was writing for Marvel, and he replied and said, "For me, it was the moments of strong emotion, getting ambushed by some surprisingly lovely turns of phrase, and the amazing artwork." We'll touch on the artwork in a moment, but he's right. The book is filled with incredible emotions and so many lovely turns of phrase, including on the very first page. I want to read an excerpt from this opening because, it's just so beautiful. I just have to. Here is the cycle of life writ large. To be born in fire and live in the bright flame of our passions, illuminating the world around us. We live and die in fire, knowing that when we die, we are reborn in the minds and spirits of those who will follow the path we have lit for them across the ages. The path that one day calls all of us home at the dying of the light. Poetic bits like these, combined with more than memorable cameos from the likes of Spider-Man and the Fantastic Four and so many others, as well as an overarching theme that war is not just a choice, but that peace is possible, inevitable, and why aren't we doing more to attain it? Not only heighten this narrative, that narrative of the story, but also makes this series rather evocative of the original Stan Lee penned Silver Surfer run, which at its best often felt like a commentary on real-world events through the curtains of the Shakespearean drama, which also made the conclusion of a Romeo and Juliet quote to help close out Requiem all that more satisfying. Though none of this should really be all that surprising given what attracted Straczynski to the character in the first place. He said, "What I've always liked about Silver Surfer is the dichotomy between these immense powers he possesses, his great idealism, and this profound loneliness. There's a tremendous sadness at the core of the character that makes him compelling." Also compelling? The outstanding art in this book, which should absolutely sell anyone on it, even at a first glance. And which is fully painted. No, not on a laptop, not on a desktop, not on any sort of computer, but actually physically painted on a piece of paper, which was then scanned using, well, I don't really follow all of this, but maybe you will. The illustrator, Esad Ribic, mentioned in a 2008 interview with Deborah Hustek, "I don't use acrylic and oils because these are very slow techniques. And oil stinks to me, so what is left are gouache, tempera, and aquarelle. And that's it." Honestly, I didn't know any of those were real words.
Gouache. Noun. 1. A method of painting using opaque pigments ground in water and thickened with a glue-like substance. Tempera. Noun. 1. A method of painting with pigments dispersed in an emulsion miscible with water, typically egg yolk. Aquarelle. Noun. 1. A style of painting using thin, typically transparent, watercolors.
Well, there you have it. To me, though, however he does it, it's just friggin' gorgeous. And while Ribic would eventually do the Secret Wars miniseries with Jonathan Hickman, though he'd already had a successful run with Robert Roddy on a Loki miniseries, had done work within the X-Men vertical and covers galore, and outside comics had done covers for George R. R. Martin's Song of Ice and Fire series, he wasn't yet a household name among comic readers. But, just look at these interiors. From the first page to the last, Ribic's output is just special. A sight to behold, whether there are sexy splash pages highlighting the surfer's journey or soft, reflective panels echoing the melancholy of the script, simple framing devices for a conversation, or even the chaotic action of an endless war. Every page is a treat for the eyes. Every page marrying hyper realism with Monet and evoking Alex Ross or Frank Frazetta, but bringing his own spin, his own theatricality to deliver truly epic visuals for this really epic story. Fitting for a man who has been said to wield his pen like the sword of Conan, though I personally think that he is a bit more subtle than that. The way he inserts details into his art, almost like Bob Ross inserting a bush into one of his portraits. Things that you would just maybe never even notice upon first view. Like Reed Richards grabbing an impossibly far folder or a surprising newspaper headline near subconscious foreshadowing, a nod to CSI, a particularly fitting reflection mimicking cloud coverage, or just the subtlety of the surfer's disease carrying throughout. Honestly, this subtlety might be why, in a 2016 interview, Ribic seemed a little down on the overall response to the book. It was a high concept book, he said, but I don't know if that many people at the time got the concept. I think he's right, unfortunately. I mean, Silver Surfer Requiem wasn't nominated for even any of the usual industry awards. In fact, the only award that I could find that it had won was a 2008 Great Graphic Novels Award from the Young Adult Library Services Association. And that's it. But again, that's okay. Because here I am, a decade after it was published, celebrating its existence. I love this book, and I think you would love this book as well. And I gotta say, it's certainly held up a bit better than either of the Fantastic Four movies. It really makes you wonder what could have been after Silver Surfer's lone cinematic appearance, especially given the fact that Straczynski wrote a follow-up Silver Surfer spin-off that would have picked off right where Rise of the Silver Surfer left off. Unfortunately, while that was announced before Rise of the Silver Surfer debuted, and according to Straczynski, would have been more adult fare and explored the Silver Surfer's origins, which would have been really cool. I would have been totally in for that. Obviously, it never happened. But since then, since Fantastic Four, the last Fantastic Four movie, it's a completely new world. Because when Disney bought Fox, they got the rights to the Fantastic Four and to Silver Surfer. So will we see him and his surfboard on the big screen one day? Undoubtedly. It's gonna happen. Will it be Straczynski's film? Not a chance in hell. That part's definitely not going to happen. But maybe, maybe he'll be involved in some way or another. After all, I mean, the man's got himself quite a TV and film resume at this point. And, even if we don't get a Silver Surfer film, or I guess at this point you could say a Disney Plus series, and I'm telling you, in my perspective, it's really only a matter of time. Even if we never get that, even if Silver Surfer never again appears on film, there are plenty of Silver Surfer comics to hold us at bay. Of course, the original series, only 18 issues, and while story heavy, rather brilliant, as well as Dan Slott and Michael Allred's more recent run, which is very heavily Doctor Who inspired and gives Surfer's board a very welcome name. Oh, and if you'd like something of an, I guess we'll call it an in-continuity take on what had happened if Silver Surfer were dying from a, black spotted plague, check out Donny Cates and Tradmore's Silver Surfer Black. As to Straczynski and Ribic, be sure to check out Submariner of the Depths if you haven't already. And I would be, of course, remiss if I didn't also recommend Midnight Nation and The 12. Hopefully that gives you plenty of reading material for the time being. Just don't expect all of them to be tearjerkers like this one. This has been the Drunk on Writing dissection of Silver Surfer Requiem. If you enjoyed this episode, please be sure to leave a comment below. Please let me know. I like hearing that people like my episodes. I really do. I like hearing their thoughts on the books. So in this case, if you have read Silver Surfer Requiem, please let me know your thoughts below. If you have not yet, please be sure to check it out. And if you just want more episodes like this more often, head on over to drunkonwriting.com and sign up, because I have a lot that I just like making videos like this about. I don't know why I do it sometimes. It's a lot of work. I've been recording this one for about an hour. It'll probably end up being about 20 minutes, but I enjoy doing it because I like the discourse that it brings. So, yeah. Until next time, and I have no idea what I'll be doing next time. As always, cheers, and keep on writing, and hey, subscribe to my channel if you enjoy this. So, see you next time.